We'll start again. So hi, I'm Amy Cruz. I'm the Assistant Superintendent. Welcome to our K-8 program preview night. You should have received a very lovely little brochure on your way in that you'll be able to keep. It's beautiful, and we'll talk about some of the programs in there tonight. So this is our teaching and learning team here in the district, small but mighty. So you have me, Tiffany Buchanan. Hello, Tiffany. We have Amy Zermet. She's not here tonight. She's the Director of Curriculum Instruction. And we do have Laura Hartzell. Oh, there she is. Thank you. Laura's our lead gifted teacher. We always throw our district goals into all of our presentations, keeps us centered. The most important one on the top there is all about the students and increasing student achievement. So we always need to make sure that what we are doing is focused on our students. Tonight is an example of working on improving our transparency throughout our communities, talking about the offerings that we have, and of course practicing fiscal responsibility. This is a snapshot of our district report card. So in the state of Ohio, every public school has a report card rating, and we have worked really hard over the last several years. We had been hovering at a 3.5, and this year, for last year, we were awarded 4 stars, and it was very exciting for us because we have been focusing on growth and not just achievement, but really looking at where every student starts and making sure that they are earning a year's worth of growth. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. So you can see the way that the state breaks it down into the different components. You can find this online. You can Google state report cards, plug in Parma, and you can see all this. And these are all active links that you can click through if you want to dig into the data a little bit more. So achievement is a representation of how well our students do on the state assessments. Progress talks about how our students do in terms of growth. So did they make that year's worth of growth from one year to the next? Gap closing looks at subgroups, specific subgroups of students to make sure that we are not just overall making achievement and progress, but that we are targeting all the different subgroups. So economically disadvantaged, students with disabilities, students with a gifted identification, different racial and ethnic groups. So it's all broken apart in gap closing. And graduation rate looks at how well we are getting kids across that finish line. Early literacy looks at how we are showing progress from year to year in our early literacy growth. And then this is a new component, college, career, workforce, and military readiness. And that has all kinds of things in there, but basically it's not just did we get kids across the finish line, but did we prepare them for life? Did we prepare them for college? Did we prepare them for military? Or did we prepare them to jump right into a career? This is one I'm very proud of, that 4 stars. We have a fantastic career tech program, which is, it's awesome, but a part of this also is that our students are earning honors diplomas, and our students are having their ACT scores being remediation free, and that they're participating in AP. So it's not just about the career side, it's also about that college readiness as well. So we're going to jump into the gap closing portion, which if you remember, the gap closing is the component on the report card that looks at different subgroups. So one of those subgroups is students with an identification as being gifted, either in superior cognitive, math, reading, or creativity. So it looks at those identifications. And this is one where this is an all or nothing. So it's 15 points possible in this little component, well, little subset of the component of gap closing. So there's no partial points. It's either 5 or nothing. So you can see that out of these 3 subcategories, we earned 5 points out of 15, which is not great. But it's really important that we look at how close we were to earning those 5 points. Remember, it's all or nothing. So that hurts. Like, we couldn't even get like a couple points for being close. But so The performance index is based on how our students did in different categories. So not just hitting proficient on the state test, but being in those advanced, accelerated. So you get a tenth of a point more every time a student goes up in that level. So our performance index was 115.7. Perfect score, according to the state, is 121.1. which gave us a percentage of 96.5, which that sounds really good. However, the state said, well, you're good, but in order to get the full 5 points or any points, you have to hit 97.5. So we're really close. And by the way, this 97.5 is a moving target, so it's gotten higher every year, which is just so fun for us to watch that target go out further, but we keep trying, and we're really close. Gifted progress, this one I'm also really proud of, because this is about starting with where a student is. So if they're in third grade and they're hitting proficient, then they should likely kind of stay in that proficient range or maybe move up a little bit. So when we're talking about students who are identified as gifted, these are typically students who are performing really well on our state assessments. So we have to still show growth for our students with a gifted identification, which is not easy because many of them are starting above grade level, so we have to keep them above grade level. So earning 5 stars in gifted progress shows that we are pushing our students and that they are growing even beyond what the state expected. You only needed 3 stars to meet progress. And then identification and services. This is one, if you're having trouble sleeping, I would recommend that you read the technical report under this. It is pages and pages long. Thanks for laughing. The camera person's laughing. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate that support. It is pages and pages long, and it's not just about do we do the bare minimum of identifying, but it looks at have we provided services to all of our students, looking at socioeconomic status, looking at all these different subcategories, and it's very challenging to hit that 80%, but we were close at 77%. Ms. Buchanan and I have had many conversations on the different assessments that we use to identify students. Are we using an assessment that allows maybe students who don't have English as a first language? Are we doing things that allow all of our students to have access to a gifted identification if they qualify in that way? So that's just one of our areas. I will point out, and this sounds like I'm kind of whining about this, but there were only 17 districts out of 607 who met all 3. So 607 districts in the state of Ohio, only 17 met all 3. So, okay, I don't feel so bad that we only got 1. But only 1 district in Cuyahoga County, and that was Bay Village, were the only ones around us that got all 3. So really difficult to do that, but we got 1, and the progress one I am really proud of, because that shows that our teachers are differentiating, that our teachers are accelerating and enriching, and that is really important. The other piece, looking at, so this is the achievement. This is just that flat score of how our students did. Did they hit, this is not the flat score, but this is looking at accomplished and advanced. So when we look at the different categories where our kids can perform on the state test, we want, obviously, for our students to perform in the accomplished and advanced. We're not just satisfied at proficient. We want to make sure that we're growing. So over the years, Mrs. Buchanan and I have crunched some numbers, and we are very proud of the fact that our students in these 2 highest categories, that we are getting more kids hitting in those categories. So in 21-22, 30% of our students, and this is district-wide, so everyone who takes an assessment in 3rd grade through high school, 30% of our students fell in those categories. And that has steadily increased, and we even jumped quite a bit there for that last year, 24-25, where 45% of our students hit that accomplished and advanced. And that's a pretty great statistic. We are ranked 89th in the state out of 607 districts. For any parents who have middle schoolers, I can remember that 607. I was having a hard time remembering the number 607. So I just started thinking of 6-7, and now I will never forget that there are 607 districts in the state. Okay, but we're ranked 89th. I think that's pretty awesome for a district our size, and we outperformed, you may have heard of Strongsville or North Royalton, Medina, Berea, Brooklyn. So it's pretty awesome. Yay, us. This is another way that we look at our data in terms of how are we doing with our high-achieving students. So looking into high school, I know you're here for the K-8 program preview night, but I want to give you a little snapshot of what's to come, and we have a lot of AP offerings at both of our high schools, and we, a couple years ago, pushed for, if you take an AP course, you take the AP exam. So there was some opting out. There were some folks who were like, oh, the kids just want the class. Like, if they are sitting in here struggling through this class, they should take the exam. So we said, you have to take the exam. And we got a little push, but people are worried when there's, change. And so this past year, we had, you can see the purple bar is the number of exams taken. So here we are, 2021, 2022. So we've increased significantly the number of exams taken. And then they're like, oh my gosh, if you just let anybody take the exam, they're not going to do well. Well, we believed in our kids, and they proved to us that they can do it. So we had more students taking the exam, and we had 68.9. So 69% of our students earned a 3 or higher, which is what you need for any sort of college credit. I just love this slide. It shows that when we set high expectations for our students, they meet them. This is like a snapshot of just what I believe about teaching, that we can present our students who might have questioned, should I take the AP exam? Oh, I can opt out of it. I'll just get the grade in the class. But when we set that expectation for them, not only did they take the exam, but they took it and passed it with a 3, 4, or a 5. So I just love that. Just pause. It's good when the bars go up there. So that's awesome. So next, we're going to talk about some of our gifted services that we offer, and I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Buchanan. So thanks again for being here tonight.
Hi, everybody. So we're going to talk about the ways that we serve our gifted students and some of the offerings that we'll offer for next school year. All right, so for the 26-27 school year, starting in kindergarten, we offer early entrance testing and classroom differentiation. When students move into second grade, we start formally identifying our students as gifted, and then we move into our cluster grouping model, which we'll talk more about in just a moment. In 5th grade, we start to offer honors classes in math and English as students move into our middle school format. And then in high school, we offer honors, AP, and CCP, College Credit Plus courses. We'll talk about these things in just more detail here shortly. You might wonder how students are identified as gifted. That might apply to some of you in this room right now. You may have gotten a letter in the mail, or actually email now. We've moved to an email format. It's just more convenient for everybody. You get that notification much more quickly. So we provide whole grade screenings in 2nd and 5th grade using the COGAT assessment, which identifies students as superior cognitive ability. That measures reasoning and problem-solving skills. So everybody takes that assessment in all of our buildings in 2nd and 5th grade. Our NWEA MAP test is given in grades 2 through 8. We use that assessment 3 times a year for instructional purposes, but it's also a gifted assessment if students score in the 95th percentile or higher. And that is an adaptive assessment that's going to measure student growth, measure their performance, and then tell teachers really what students are needing as far as classroom instruction, what standards they can really dive into in the classroom. And then creative thinking is tied into that 2nd and 5th grade COGAT assessment, and we use those COGAT results as well as a creative thinking checklist to identify our students as gifted. All of these assessments are outlined by the state of Ohio, and the state tells us what we can and can't use, so it's not something that we can determine. We can't just say, your students are wonderful, and then now they're identified as gifted. They are all wonderful. But we have to use a specific list of assessments that's approved by the state, and they give us the scores we can use as well. Once a student is identified as gifted, they will remain identified for the duration of their academic career that they are here with us, and each year they will get what's called a written education plan, or a WEP, and that outlines the gifted services that are offered each year to your students. So that would say their gifted identification on it, like if they're identified in reading or math, for example, and then the services that they are receiving that year. So it might say that they are in an honors course, and then what their goals are that they're working on in that course for that year. It will also reference things like their MAP test data, what their goals are in that MAP score for that year, and really to remain near that 95th percentile that they have achieved previously. You will get a parent acknowledgement request via email, and that is updated each year all the way through graduation. In our elementary buildings, our gifted service model is called the cluster model, and that means that we intentionally cluster students together based on their identification area. So they are scheduled together in the classroom with other students with a gifted identification so that the teacher can then differentiate within their core instruction to meet their needs. We also have what's called Pie Time. This is offered to all students. It's prevention, intervention, and enrichment time. During that time, our elementary teachers plan their instruction to meet the needs of all students based on whichever group they need to be placed into, based on the standards that we are working on at that time. So for many of our gifted students, they're in an enrichment group during that time. And we also have scheduled enrichment sessions with other gifted students and our gifted intervention specialist. So students that are identified as creative thinking, reading, math, or superior cognitive are scheduled together, and their teachers receive yearly professional development that is specialized for gifted learning every year. So again, we have those enrichment and engagement sessions that are offered weekly to those students, and that during that time, that enrichment is differentiated based on the needs of the students' WEP goals relevant to their identification area provided by a gifted intervention specialist. And this is just an addition to our gifted service model, which is the cluster model planned that we offer during the school day as well. As students progress to the middle school, differentiation still happens during core instruction, but students are scheduled into honors classes, so it's still a gifted cluster of students. We just label it as an honors class. The students are still scheduled together. We offer accelerated math. Starting in 7th grade, students are put on a written acceleration plan because they begin to take the 8th grade assessment. And in 8th grade, we offer Algebra 1, so students can leave 8th grade with high school credit. So if we look at our honors math pathway, it is accelerated, as we just said. So 7th graders will actually take the 8th grade Ohio State test. The curriculum prepares them to take that assessment. Our teachers have that pathway already written into their curriculum maps, and that honors track prepares them on that pathway starting in 5th grade. And then the 8th graders will take Algebra 1, which is a high school credit, and follows them on that transcript. And then honors ELA begins in 5th grade. We offer advanced novel studies, writing extensions, and a differentiated curriculum that is at that higher level to meet the needs of our students. Looking at our STEM program. So STEM is a project-based learning program that is offered to all students. It is not a gifted program. The gifted services in STEM are the same as any of our other programs that we just mentioned. It's the same in all of our buildings. Our STEM program focuses on project-based learning. So this is a process that promotes learning through working together to solve a real-life problem. So this program is really good for students that like to work together, like to work with partners, collaborate with their peers, work on a team. It's not really ideal for a student who likes to work independently because there is a lot of problem solving and collaboration in this approach. Throughout their STEM experience, students will share thoughts and ideas with others. They're going to work with a team, persevere, solve problems, look at problems in new ways, and think creatively, demonstrate self-control, work independently, and take ownership of their learning. So there's more student ownership during this type of teaching style. Some general overarching information. So this program is for students in K through 8. It follows a traditional school day, so things like arrival time, dismissal time, lunch, recess, encore, those types of things are still in place, just like a regular school day. Grades K to 4 are housed at Pleasant Valley, and grades 5 through 8 are housed at Greenbrier. If your student is already in STEM now, you don't have to reapply. So when the application opens in just a few weeks, you don't need to fill out the application again. You can automatically just stay in STEM if that's what you desire. However, if you have an incoming sibling, like younger brother, younger sister, you would need to fill out the application for them if they would like to be part of STEM. District transportation is not provided unless a student's assigned home building is Pleasant Valley or Greenbrier and they live greater than 2 miles from the school. So if that's already your assigned building and you would qualify for busing, then you would get transportation. But if your designated building is a different building and you're electing to come to STEM, then you would need to provide your own transportation. And then gifted students receive the same service as their peers in a traditional classroom. Excuse me. So units are centered around an essential question. Course standards are the same as in traditional environments. We have the same standardized testing expectations and things like that as outlined by the state of Ohio. So there are still some times when there's some direct instruction, especially if there's like a new skill being introduced. We have about 3 to 4 PBL units covered in each school year. And then at the end of each PBL unit, we have a capstone or presentation, which will be given to an authentic audience. We actually have some examples this evening when we're done. If you want to talk to some of our STEM teachers, they would be glad to show you some examples of different projects that they've have had in their classrooms throughout the years. In STEM, we have things such as community partnerships and expert speakers embedded into our curriculum where they share their knowledge and resources with our learners. One example is Spicefield Kitchen, which includes things like cooking demos, harvests from our land lab, and teaching students the concept of farm-to-table cooking, which has just been one of our favorite partnerships. We value our school-home partnerships as well, so there might be times when a student works on a project at home, and sometimes families are invited to share in the learning at school, so you might be invited into school to attend a capstone event or to volunteer to join a field trip, for example. At the elementary level, all teachers are self-contained, meaning they would teach all of the subjects so that project-based learning is embedded into the daily curriculum. When students transition to middle school, they follow a traditional bell schedule, just like a regular middle school classroom, and they would switch classes. The core classes would be like their STEM cohort, and then for encore, they would switch as usual. And these are just a few pictures from some of our previous STEM collaboration experiences and capstones. Some elementary pictures, and we have a few middle school pictures. So there's a variety of different experiences that you can see and different topics and a range of different hands-on activities that we've had throughout the years. If you are interested in your student being in the STEM program for next school year, the application will open on March 2nd. And then parents will start to be notified via email beginning on April 15th. Based on space available, we'll go through those applications starting then. They will be on our website, and there's also a QR code in the pamphlet that you guys received tonight. At this time, if you have any questions, I'll be available. We have a table for gifted questions, honors questions, and we have a lot of our STEM representatives here from some of our classrooms and buildings. They have project examples, and we are all here to answer any questions that you might have about any of our specific program offerings tonight. So we thank you so much for coming, and we hope that we answered all of your questions tonight. So thank you.